Hello and welcome to the Megacast on a number of radio stations, television, and online outlets. My name is Dave Scott. I'll shortly be joined by Tyler Keefe in our Lakes FM studios. We want to thank all of you that are joining us on television on CivicCenterTV.com. On Civic Center TV, it's Channel 15 in the West Bloomfield and Lakes area, Channel 99 on AT&T. But again, go to the webpage, great place, CivicCenterTV.com to see it. I want to thank the folks in West Bloomfield. They put us on their homepage, the West Bloomfield Township homepage. Thank you very much. Each day on the show, we have a, not a Zoom, but a Facebook Live partner. I'm getting off to a rough start already. A Facebook Live partner. Facebook Live partner today is the West Bloomfield Fire Department. We thank them very much for being a part of the show and helping us get it out. And a huge thank you to our amazing radio stations. WAHS 89.5 Avondale Community Radio, covering a big chunk of Macomb County, a ton of Oakland County, and we thank you very much for tuning in Birmingham and Troy and Rochester and Pontiac and all across our area. 88.1 WBFH, the Biff in Bloomfield Hills at Bloomfield Hills High School. We thank you for joining us. Your great signal as well. And 89.3 Lakes FM, where we are in the Lakes FM studio. Tyler Keefe is getting all the radio stations connected right now. We got to kind of MacGyver it a little bit. So he's making all that happen. He'll be in the studio with us in a minute. In anticipation of that, I'm going to move over here to keep our 6 foot of distance. So we have a great show lined up for you today. I hope you're going to enjoy it and find it very informative. If you're listening or watching for the first time, the focus of this show is clearly the coronavirus. But it's a little bit different than what you'll find elsewhere. Very local approach, very local experts, very local solutions we hope we are providing. Today on the program, we're going to talk to Captain Dan Edwards of the Bloomfield Township Police Department. He'll be joining us in just a minute via Zoom. Deb Macon, she is a former member of the Bloomfield Hills School Board, very active throughout our communities, and actually one of my bosses, member of the Greater West Bloomfield Cable Communications Commission. She will be here to talk about the impact that the coronavirus is having on all of the community organizations and the activities that we have. We are really excited to be talking today to Dr. James Schwartz, the superintendent of Avondale Schools. We'll continue to get some insight from our superintendents as we have so far and find out more about the governor's ruling yesterday to close schools for the rest of the year. Dr. Schwartz will chime in on that. Dr. Paul Van Oyen says that water is vital to continue to provide the care that we need. He is a local retired obstetrician and gynecologist, and he's an expert in water access here in the Detroit area. He'll chat on that. And because he knows a lot about babies, I know that the coronavirus is particularly a challenge for pregnant moms. We'll find out more about that. Suzanne Levine checks in from the West Bloomfield Chamber, and we are really excited to have Rabbi Daniel Schwartz checking in as we get ready to lead into the weekend and find out about our houses of worship across our area and how they are dealing with a coronavirus crisis. That's a mouthful. The coronavirus.
It's a lot to say, but it's important.
Crisis. I will slow down. There's so much to get in 2 hours. I want to go fast, Tyler, and that's why I'm ripping through this. And finally, we are really excited to be joined today by Dave Coulter, the Oakland County Executive. Very busy. They've been doing so much through this whole crisis. The information they have on the web is great, not the least of which that website that they have that gets it right. It gets a coronavirus right down to the zip code. You can see exactly how things are going in your community. So we'll talk to Dave Coulter in a couple of minutes. Always like to know how you're feeling, Tyler. How's it going?
I am feeling good this morning, Dave. Much like you earlier on in the week, I kind of woke up with some sniffles and not feeling so hot, but now I'm feeling good. You know, something about the Megacast. Doing the Megacast each day just lifts your spirits.
All right. Well, I'm glad you're doing well. And again, I have a problem with my wipes. We would like to wipe the studio down every day. The whole clump of wipes came out when I opened up my Clorox disinfectant here, but I'm going to see if I can rip one of these off without delaying our whole radio broadcast. I almost lost my computer yesterday because when all the wipes come out, then it gets really wet. But you got to keep wiping down your surface. You got to wash your hands. You got to take care of the environment you're working in. You got to keep the distance. That's why Tyler is over there. 6 feet away, and I am here. And even a little further away than 6 feet, joining us now via Zoom, is Captain Dan Edwards of the Bloomfield Township Police Department. Captain Edwards, good morning and welcome to the Megacast.
Good morning, Larry. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yep.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. I think I can maximize your window there. There we go. We can see you a little bit better. People are seeing you on our television channels and hearing you all across the great radio stations. We're really glad that right outside of your building there in Bloomfield Township is the antenna for 88.1 WBFH. So we are reaching your area extremely well. Focus of this show, you're new to it, is to get out the local information. And I'm sure what's happening in Bloomfield Township is happening elsewhere. But Captain Dan, can you give us an update of how things are going in Bloomfield Township?
Well, the police department, I'm happy to report, is not very busy with calls related to the coronavirus incidents. Most of our officers are still working, and we haven't had a sickness within our department like Detroit Police Department has, which I'm happy to report that. We have a couple officers who have family members sick, so they're staying home to help keep our department safe. And if I don't have any mandatory meetings, I took today off myself, and so I'm sitting in my basement. So if you see a cat walk by, that's the reason why.
I appreciate that.
But we're zooming in on a lot of meetings, and there's a lot of meetings with the state and federal on emergency operations. So we're preparing for everything. Our officers are out there responding to calls of complaints of this COVID violations of the governor's orders, but we have not had any incidents related to that. And our crime rate, which is the whole reason I wanted to come on here, our crime rates are significantly down because everybody is staying home and staying safe, and even the criminals are listening to the governor's orders.
Well, I guess then that's the best news I've heard from anybody since we started doing the show. Thank you. There's always an upside. That's reassuring because, in some times of crisis, panic ensues and people start getting crazy, and we see just the opposite. But you're reporting in Bloomfield Township, and my guess is we're seeing it elsewhere. I hope that people are behaving themselves, they're staying home, and as a result, you're probably not writing as many speeding tickets, and things are probably a little bit quieter. That's good to hear.
Absolutely. We scan what other departments are doing, looking for trends coming our way, and the crime rates throughout Metro Detroit are way down, and our officers are out there being visible, and we're keeping a good presence out there. And so if you see police cars driving around on the roads and driving around your subdivisions more than normal, that's a good thing. It's because we're preparing for exactly what you said, the unrest and any uncertainty that people have. There's a lot of unknowns out there, but it's certainly not, our crime rates are way down. We have had a lot of calls of complaints of people violating the governor's orders and the health code. So we've gone to a lot of golf courses and businesses that should be closed, and we talk to them and make sure that they're aware of what the governor's orders are. And if they're violating them, we just talk to them, and we've had voluntary compliance from absolutely everybody.
Captain Dan Edwards is joining us in the Bloomfield Township Police Department. Captain Edwards, we're hearing very similar reports from other agencies around our service area. And I don't know any of the people that we've talked to in the show, West Bloomfield, Kego, Sylvan Lake, the other departments that we're going to continue to talk to, that they have had to arrest anybody. For the most part, it's remind folks. It's kind of crazy. You do scratch your head right now, thinking, and probably even more so today, that people would head out to the golf course. But you love to golf. It's 60 degrees outside. I can understand how they might slip somebody's mind and they might not be thinking about the governor's order and get the clubs out.
Yeah, and the governor allows people to go out and exercise once a day to get some fresh air. And, it's a beautiful day to do that, but you have to maintain that 6-foot distance. And if we see gatherings of people, we've been getting a lot of complaints of that, especially like high school teams trying to get together. And so we will respond to those incidents, and we'll have a conversation with them and, advise them what the governor's orders are. And we have been responding to quite a few of those type of calls. And like I said, everybody's absolutely willing to comply. And we have not made any arrests on this, and it's our intention to not make any arrests on this. And if there's businesses that are violating it, like I said, we will document it on a police report, and we'll review it hopefully after this whole incident is over as to what would be the appropriate enforcement action. But for now, everybody's been very compliant with the governor's orders and with our requests if they are violating the orders. And another thing, Larry, I wanted to point out is that I've heard rumors that people are concerned that officers are stopping cars and questioning people and looking for violations, which is not true. Throughout our course of business, if we run into somebody, we'll just have a regular conversation with them, but we're not stopping cars, looking to arrest anybody and looking for violations or anything like that.
So your officers wouldn't randomly pull over a car going down Telegraph just to see if they are an essentially, quote unquote, essential worker. That wouldn't be the reason that you would intervene with somebody.
That is a great question. Absolutely not. Nope, we're not. We're not in a martial law state where we would be doing anything like that.
No, that's reassuring for me. And I don't think we need to do that yet. Right. It's possible we'll get there. I hope not. I don't see it happening. But and it's very similar, Captain Dan Edwards of the Bloomfield Township Police Department, what we are hearing from others. I assume you are also communicating, your department is communicating with your neighborhood departments and other folks around the state to make sure you're all on the same page and there and available to help if needed.
Yes, absolutely. And our biggest concern that we have, like you said, possible civil unrest, but we have seen zero issues with that. Yeah, our biggest worry right now is that 50% of our officers will be off sick, and how are we going to continue to maintain the services and be out there? So we've got contingency plans to work with other agencies, especially in our 911 centers. We're really worried about that because those people are stuck in the same room. So we're quarantining that room, and then we're not letting anybody in there except essential people in there. And we've got contingency plans to coordinate our resources with surrounding agencies if a virus does hit one of the centers.
On the fire and EMS side, I'm sure that's a slightly different situation. I just noticed, Tyler, I don't know if you've noticed, but I've noticed I hear a lot of sirens now. It seems like I'm hearing more, and I can only assume those are calls where people are being transported for their health. I imagine your 911 center is very busy right now.
The 911 center is very busy, yes. And our brothers and sisters in the fire department and in the medical field obviously are a lot busier with transports of people with this and even the other regular medicals that still go on. So they're also making a lot of contingency plans to work together just to handle the volume of runs and if their officers start becoming sick also.
Any thoughts about Detroit? I mean, we take a look at Detroit. You're a law enforcement officer. They're really having a hard time in the city. Officers sick at all levels of the Detroit Police Department. The city of Detroit, Oakland County isn't escaping this at all, but Detroit and Wayne County has some of the highest incidents and deaths per capita in the country. And I can only imagine how difficult that is for law enforcement in Detroit with all the other problems that department has to deal with that you likely don't. Any thoughts about what those officers are going through right now?
Well, a good friend of mine is captain in Detroit Police Department. I was just texting with him last night, having a conversation about that. And, their department's hurting definitely with all the officers in quarantine. And their city crime rate is also down. They have a lot less calls also. They're certainly in a tough spot right now with all their officers that are out and with their chief being out also. But they're a very strong department and they're on a good path and they're doing the best that they can right now in a difficult situation.
Captain Dan Edwards, Bloomfield Township Police Department. Thank you for joining us. You know what? You made news. I've been watching the news everywhere, and I don't know that I've seen anybody say that crime in Detroit is down. And that's why we do the Megacast, because this is the information that comes out. I can see that not being a very sexy story for the national media, and quite honestly hasn't come up with any of the other law enforcement officials we've talked to. What you say makes perfect sense. There are fewer people out in the community, and crime is down, and thank goodness that's the case. And it's even more reassuring to hear that, according to the officers you're talking to in the Detroit Police Department, that it's the case there too.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, that's good news. Anything you want to add, Captain Dan? Can I call you Captain Dan? Does anyone else call you Captain Dan? And we got like Mayor
people called me
Pete.
Lieutenant Dan before I got promoted. But,
we got Mayor Pete. We got Captain Dan, right? Why not? Anything else you want to add before we say so long?
I think you covered it perfectly, Larry. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk to our community.
All right, thank you. We will keep in touch. I'm gonna, we're trying to keep in touch with all the law enforcement, first responders, medical folks, other people that can provide us information. You've done a great service, so we will keep in touch with you. And if anything should happen to pop up that our listeners should know about, please give us a ring. Appreciate it.
Sounds great, Larry.
All right, very good. Captain Dan Edwards of the Bloomfield Township Police Department. We're going to talk to Deb Macon. She is a former school board member in Bloomfield Hills, member of the Greater West Bloomfield Cable Communications Commission, very active in a big project here in the West Bloomfield area, that Walled Lake area that was recently canceled. We'll talk about events and activities in the area and see how things are going there. After that, we're going to talk to Dr. James Schwartz, superintendent of the Avondale Schools, and get some follow-up to the governor's order yesterday closing schools for the rest of the year, and see how things are going in Avondale, and much more coming up later on in the show. Oakland County Executive Dave Coulter joins us as well. I'm Dave Scott. Tyler Keefe over there. You got a hat today, Tyler. Looking good on TV today.
Well, no, it's the first time for everything, Dave.
You kind of look a little like you're like up north doing the lumberjack thing today. You got your plaid shirt and your hat. You go comfortable over there.
I'm chopping wood for news, Dave.
All right. So thank you for joining us. We're going to be back in just a couple of minutes. This is the Megacast on Civic Center TV, Lakes FM, 88.1 WBFH, The Biff, WAHS, 89.5 Avondale Community Radio. And a big thank you to the West Bloomfield Fire Department, who is us today on their Facebook page. We'll be back in just a moment with more of the Megacast.
Welcome back to the Cat Show. Up next, we have Nico. Nico is a member of the Shelter Pet Group.
That's right. A group known especially for their sunspot sleeping, ball chasing, leg rubbing, and of course, companionship. Just look how she struts.
It's like she owns the place.
And see how she curls up and cuddles her person.
The pitch on her purring is simply perfect.
Nice one.
Fantastic cat. But really the best way to know an amazing shelter pet like Nico is to meet one.
Visit theshelterpetproject.org today. Adopt.
Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
And welcome back to the Megacast on 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 WBFH, The Biff, WAHS 89.5 Avondale Community Radio, Civic Center TV, Channel 15 Comcast. It's Channel 99 on AT&T. Best way to watch the show really is online, where it's there in complete, stunning high definition, and you can do that at civiccentertv.com. And a lot of other sites. Go to the Fire Department's Facebook page in West Bloomfield. West Bloomfield Township community pages also have our broadcast, and we'll get it on a bunch of other pages coming up in the coming days. Joining us now via Zoom is our good friend Deb Macon. Deb, can you hear us? How you doing today?
Yes, I can. Hey, Dave. Hi, Tyler. How are you?
Hello, Deb.
We are doing great. You look like $1 million. I assume you were at your home today.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
how's everything at the Macon home, and how you guys doing and feeling?
You know what? Everything is really good here. We are isolating. We're staying in the house, walk around the neighborhood, following governor's orders.
Well, and how is that going? Because now we know, I mean, it just depends on which authority you listen to. We now know we're going to be doing this for a little while longer. How's that sitting with you? And are you feeling, what are you doing to deal with that? I mean, staying at home all the time, it's not easy, is it?
But you know what? No, it's not. But community work still goes on. And where our community groups are figuring out creatively, how do we stay in touch with one another? How do we live our mission? How do we live our purpose? And we're ramping up our creativity genes in the process.
People in Bloomfield and West Bloomfield know you really well. They know Deb Macon as that really unbelievable, amazing lady who is involved in absolutely everything. And
You're so
well, you are just one of those really active people in the community. Listen, my mom was on the school board. I know that's no easy task. You were on the Bloomfield Hills School Board. You were involved in a number of projects. One of them we work together closely is is a program that salutes volunteers. It's called Michigan Week. Hundreds of people come every year. We do it in May, and unfortunately, you and the Michigan Week committee had to cancel that event. Talk about that.
Dave, we actually use the word postpone because there is no stopping the positive creative energy that went for over 48 years ago into creating this amazing tradition. So the Greater West Bloomfield Michigan Week Committee, which is over 48 years old, we postponed. So we will be holding our amazing event on Friday, October 2nd at Wabeek Country Club. Wabeek has been quite wonderful to work with. We moved our date from May until October. We're anticipating that we'll be able to fulfill our commitment and promise to the community at that time.
All right. Well, I hope it all goes well. You and an abundance of others are trying to figure out what to do with events. It's not easy. We don't have an absolute day this is going to end, but you got to start scheduling and working on things. So I applaud you for that. You are a former school board member. I don't know whether you heard the governor's press conference yesterday directly, but we know that schools closed for the rest of the year. What are your thoughts? I mean, it's got to be really challenging.
Well, yes, I do. And I am a public education advocate and activist and really do stay in touch, especially my districts. And I embrace all 7 of them that are right here in Greater West Bloomfield. Many of us expected this. And what is really wonderful is that our districts are prepared for this. I know 2 districts specifically. I'm confident that the others have done this. They have delivered Chromebooks, delivered hotspots to students. Teachers are working, making their online plans so that we can fulfill the governor's request. I know that. Actually, Bloomfield just met last night looking at exactly this. So we're in the best place. Our families and our kids are being well cared for by the forethought that has gone into place by school boards.
Well, and they've been doing a great job. We're going to talk to Dr. James Schwartz in a couple of minutes. He's the superintendent of Avondale Schools, so we'll check in with yet another district and find out how things are going there. You talk often, I know in conversations that we've had, talk often about a program called Internet Essentials, and it is a program that gets internet in homes for people that can't afford it, and especially in this time, programs like that. I mean, right now you don't have water at your home, you can't take care of yourself. You don't have internet in your home, you're disconnected from the rest of the world. It is an essential service. Talk about what Comcast is doing for many communities with this Internet Essentials program.
Dave, I am delighted that you brought that up. I've been an Internet Essentials advocate since its inception and regularly ask about that in our Greater West Bloomfield Cable Communications Commissions. So what Comcast did is literally create a way so that families who would not have been able to afford full internet and cable packages make an ultra low cost internet, as well as tech support, tech training for families who need that kind of support. And one student in the household that is receiving free or reduced price lunch literally equips the entire household for that student's duration to be able to have the technology in place so that learning can continue. And of course, by the way, if there is a family member who is applying for jobs, who is looking for employment, who is going to need to rely on the internet, they're going to be in the best position to be able to do that through that resource.
All right. If you need more information, people can call here. I can give out our number. But where would people listening, watching today, if they want to take advantage of that, they're in a Comcast service area, do you know where they would go, or should I just give out our number?
You know what, Dave? It would be great to give out our number here. Actually, I regularly recommend that everyone do a Google search for Comcast Internet Essentials, right, and they'll be able to get the information that they need. I'm surprised at the number of people that are not aware of this, and we may each know someone who can help a family who needs this kind of support.
Sure, spread the word, get it around. Our telephone number for that, if you need that information or anything else, call anytime you got a comment about the show. We would enjoy hearing from you. Our telephone number, 248-683-2343, 248-683-2343. Deb Macon, we got to scoot along. Before I say so long, thank you. We couldn't be doing this show if we didn't have the resources of the Greater West Bloomfield Cable Communications Commission, just one of the many municipal television operations in our area. I'm very proud of this one, I got to say. Thank you and the commission for the resources you provide to us so we can do the Megacast. We appreciate it.
Thank you for making this happen. It's been a pleasure to be here.
All right, Deb Macon joining us. She's just one of those people who is so active in our communities. Tyler, I know there's a Deb Macon around every corner here in the Oakland County, Macomb County area, and we need as many of them as we can get right now.
We've talked to a lot of them already, and we talk to them every day. And some days it's a former school board member, it's a cable commission member. Other days it's somebody that's making masks for someone in the community, or it's someone that's organizing waving to your neighbors every night at 7 o'clock in Sylvan Lake, like Dee Sloan. There are a lot of Deb Macons, and they're the ones that are giving us a sense of hope during this really tough time.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back. Coming up in a little bit, we're going to speak to the superintendent of schools, continue our focus on education, Dr. James Schwartz, the superintendent of Avondale Schools. Checking our headlines, we're going to go through the website, take a look at the big news stories of the day, and hear from the newsmakers. Governor yesterday, of course, closed the schools. Sheriff Mike Bouchard set up a robocall yesterday, communicating a lot of information out to the public in a unique way. We'll talk about that. Our coronavirus numbers continue to rise, and we are one of the top hotspots in the nation, sadly, and it's all focused right here in our neighborhood, in our broadcast coverage area. We are in the target. We are in the epicenter, if you will, of this mega crisis that we have going on right now. Reports continue to say the numbers are going to continue to rise. We've got tough days ahead of us. Governor did a television town hall, very unique broadcast last night. Hopefully you saw it on TV. She answered a lot of questions, got a lot of information out, and it was really great to see all of our television stations working together. And then one other thing we'll talk about on the show today briefly is today begins the Paycheck Protection Plan. It is a SBA program through the Department of Treasury that you're going to implement for small businesses through your local bank. It's set up. Treasury's got it set up. They just passed this thing last week, though, and I can tell you because I went through the application process myself. If you don't mind me taking a moment to share some personal experience. The program is set up, but it is managed through your local bank, which I think is great. They will be able to help you, I think, better than some department. If you take a look at what's going on right now with the challenges we have with unemployment, Tyler, a lot of folks are eligible for unemployment, but the systems in the state are overburdened and you can't even get online. You got to do it at 4 o'clock in the morning. So this system here has your local bank managing these loans under the instruction of the SBA and the Department of Treasury. But the Department of Treasury just worked out the numbers. If you heard Steve Mnuchin talking yesterday, like late last night, they just got the program together. And I saw Chase put out a post that said they're not quite ready, even though the program begins today. My bank is Huntington Bank. They're very active here in the area. They're not quite ready from what I understand. But I believe that they'll figure it out over the next couple of days, and we'll continue to get information from our banks. And Monday, I'm hoping they're all ready to go. We can start turning in these applications. I can also tell you that the program, the forms are very easy to fill out. I've heard a lot of reports it's really complicated. It's not that hard. And you can get a professional to help you, but if you don't, it's not really that hard. So go figure it out. All the information is on our site, and you can find it through the U.S. Treasury. Just go ahead and Google that. Great program. It'll help you keep your employees employed, and then they won't even need to go through all the hassle of filing for unemployment. We have a bunch of guests coming up. Don't go away. We're going to talk to Dr. James Schwartz in just a minute from the Avondale Schools and hear from some of our top newsmakers. This is the Megacast on 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 WBFH, the Biff in the Bloomfield area, Lakes FM in the West Bloomfield and Lakes area, and then WAHS in Avondale, Auburn Hills, Rochester Hills, and sending a huge signal out to much of Macomb County. Thank you to our great radio stations. Thanks to Civic Center TV, where you can watch us at civiccentertv.com. The West Bloomfield Fire Department has us on their page today, their Facebook page. We will be back with the Megacast in just a moment.
To buy your home, you became a house hunting ace, learned about loans, scoured neighborhoods, and asked the right questions. Now you're queen of your castle. If you manage that, you can get your retirement plan on track. Visiting aceyourretirement.org can help. With 401k tips and smart saving strategies, you will feel empowered to own your retirement like you own your home. Go to aceyourretirement.org. Because when it comes to clearing financial hurdles, you're an ace. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Thank you for tuning in. Dave Scott here at Civic Center TV, Lakes FM Studios. So happy to have you tuning in on 89.3 Lakes FM. Hey, thanks to the Biff for being a part of this Megacast. 88.1 WBFH, the Biff, and WAHS 89.5. Avondale Community Radio, and covering Pontiac and Auburn Hills and Birmingham and points off like towards Warren and points off to the east. So we got the Megacast for you. Thank you for tuning in. We are here to bring you coronavirus information. I'm very briefly going to check in with our good friend Suzanne Levine. I think she is here, and say hello. Suzanne is from the Greater West Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce. Suzanne, good morning. Thank you for joining us via Zoom. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm fine. So you're obviously at home like all the rest of us. You're doing a good job. How's cocooning going for you?
Well, I'm still very busy, which is good. I think it's really good to stay active. I'm trying to answer our local businesses' calls about how I can help them, provide information. I get daily updates from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, from Oakland County, from the U.S. Treasury. Different opportunities for our members to apply for grants and loans, and trying to stay in touch with some of our local banks. What programs are they offering? So, I mean, on the one hand, it's good because I think it's important for us we should have physical distancing, not social distancing.
I agree. I'm starting to hear that more. So this started out as social distancing. It was in our vocabulary when we first started doing this broadcast, and now we've changed it to physical distancing. I heard them talking about that on some of the big radio stations and TV stations in our area today, Tyler. So clearly they are following our lead on this one, don't you think?
Yeah, I think that they absolutely are.
I'm sure of it. Suzanne, how are the business doing? Today we have the Paycheck Protection Plan going in place for small business. This is a huge program. I think it's like $400 billion, and it's really going to help small businesses. The key here is they will get reimbursed if they don't lay off their employees. It's a loan, but it's really a grant because you get most of the money back. Are you hearing business? I think it's fantastic. What are you hearing?
Yes, I know that they're starting to, apply for it. I know that there's always confusion when these new programs are rolled out. So I'm trying to direct them to experts that can help them, navigate this new abnormal. I don't call it normal, and hopefully it'll never be normal.
Yeah.
But I think it's great because I know most of it's forgiven. Most of the loan is forgiven.
I think it's going to be absolutely excellent. Your mic is a little muddy, so we're going to move along. Is there anything else that you want to say before we zip along here?
Yes, I want to. The Chamber is going to start a new program. And I'm hoping that along the way, maybe you can be part of this. It's going to be an unsung local community kind of hero program where we're going to ask for nominations. Could be a grocer, someone who works in a grocery store. It can be a police officer, a nurse. It can be a student who's offering to buy groceries for their neighbors. And we would, post their picture and do a little bio. And maybe at some point they could be interviewed on the radio, just, basically saying, thank you so much for doing everything you can during these very challenging times to make life a little bit better.
All right. Well, I think it's a great idea. We have been doing a Person of the Week on TV, so we will call you after the show, seeing if we can coordinate on that. And absolutely, I mean, I think people are doing a good job recognizing the first responders, but we need to do a better job in all areas. And I don't know if you saw the report from, it was in one of the local media outlets today about a grocer and the employees here in the Detroit area, and they are very concerned because people that are going to the store are just being slobs. They're making it very difficult for the grocery store. They're leaving like rubber gloves and things like that all over the parking lot. The people that are working at these essential outlets are taking as much of a risk as anybody else. And so just try and keep that in mind. I know the people listening now are not slobs. They're the quality people. But if you see somebody, disrespecting the parking lot of a grocery store, leaving a mess that somebody else has to take their life in their own hands to clean up, I think it's a terrible thing. So do your best to help out. Suzanne, thank you so much for being with us today. Dr. Schwartz checks in a couple of minutes. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back, and we're going to hear from the top newsmakers of the day and find out more about what's going on in our area as it relates to COVID-19. This is the Megacast on 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 WBFH, 89 so many radio stations, 89.5 WAHS, Avondale Community Radio, Civic Center TV, and the rest. We'll be back in just a moment.
There are many sounds in your daily life. Ones that make you smile. Ones that help you relax. And there are some sounds that can help save lives. Wireless emergency alerts, now on many mobile devices, use a unique sound and vibration to bring you critical information about emergencies in your area. With updates from local sources you know and trust, you can be in the know wherever you are. Learn more at ready.gov/alerts. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Dave, what are you doing?
Just sending a gift to Dave 2037.
Who?
Me in the future. I save a little money from every paycheck as a gift to Dave 2037. So you can spend it on things like anti-gravity boots or a hologram Doberman, something cool like that. I think Dave 2037 deserves it. He worked hard. What are you getting Steve 2037?
I guess I was thinking Steve 2037 would just fend for himself.
Well, all right, but don't expect to be borrowing my anti-gravity boots.
You want to have money in your future? You got to start saving now. Putting some money from every paycheck into a savings account or contributing to your 401k can make a big difference later. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free ideas and easy ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org.
Hey, let's just hope Steve 2037 doesn't get his hands on a cold time machine, because he is going to come back here and knock some sense into you.
This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
All right, welcome back to the Megacast. Dave Scott along with Tyler Keefe in our Lakes FM studios in West Bloomfield, where we are on the air in 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 WBFH in Bloomfield Hills, WBFH, the Biff, and we are so happy to be joined by all of these radio stations, including WAHS 89.5 Avondale Community Radio, and you can hear that all over the east side and a bunch of Oakland County. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to talk to Dr. James Schwartz, the superintendent of Avondale Schools, in a couple of minutes. He's taking care of some other key business right now. The big business yesterday, Tyler, was the governor getting on radio and television and telling us that we are still 1 month away from the apex, from the peak of this COVID-19 crisis. And for some reason, we are not hearing that clip. So don't really know what's going on there. That is really unfortunate. See if I can fix this and I have one other idea. Oh, huh?
Website is muted.
Where's that? Go ahead. That's a mute?
Yep. Right click.
Right click that? Okay, sorry we're doing this live. Let's just take a really quick break because I want to get these clips. We'll be back in 30 seconds.
Keeping you connected in West Bloomfield during the coronavirus outbreak, 89.3 Lakes FM.
We're here early before they wake up. We stay late, we stay informed, we invest in the latest technology.
We take the time to train the next generation of doctors and nurses. We work together to make sure we heal their bodies and their minds.
We do this not because it's our job, but because this is about our veterans' lives. This is our mission. More than 300,000 of us working as one, together with families and loved ones. No matter where they live in this country, we'll be there.
We all come together and stand together to serve our veterans. We stand strong, united. Stand with us in caring for our veterans.
All right, thank you for joining us back here on the Megacast. We fixed this without support from the IT team. So again, as I was saying a couple of minutes ago, that we heard from the governor yesterday. She had a press conference yesterday morning, also was on TV across Metro Detroit, and she said that we are a ways away from the peak.
I think we're probably a good month out from the apex of COVID-19, and this disease is spreading very fast here in Michigan. We still don't have enough tests to really have confidence in that we know precisely how many people are carrying COVID-19. That's why we've had to take such aggressive steps to mitigate the spread of this.
And the governor also said yesterday, and by the way, if you're watching on TV, you can see where these cuts are as I'm playing them on television and on radio right now. You feel free to go listen to these things yourself. Governor, also the big announcement yesterday was the fact that school is really going to be closed for the balance of the year. That's what she shared during her press conference. But she also said that without any question, we need more testing in the state of Michigan. And here is exactly what she had to say yesterday to that issue.
We need more testing. We need to be doing robust testing in order to really assess when and how it's safe to resume life. And that includes what school looks like in the fall. At this juncture, what we know is that it would be too dangerous to have our kids congregating in schools across the state right now. And that's going to be true for the foreseeable future. And that's why it is time to move forward with a distance learning plan for our children, because we acknowledge if we don't hit our apex until late April or mid-May, the school year is pretty much over at that juncture. And that's why we can't wait to see what happens. We've got to start making plans to meet the needs of our kids.
Governor Whitmer yesterday saying school's done for the year. Tyler, that had to be an extremely difficult decision. It was an obvious decision, I think, but nonetheless, a extremely difficult decision for the governor to announce yesterday.
Yes, and we talked to Dr. Hill also. We've talked to other community leaders in schools that they're still making their adjustments and they're going to continue education the best that they possibly can. The governor's announcement kind of confirms what they had believed for a while.
In fact, Dr. Hill, who is Dr. Jerry Hill, the superintendent of schools in West Bloomfield, says he appreciates the governor's decision, and here's what he had to say.
We fully support the governor in what she's doing. We think it's for the priority of safety of all the Michiganders, and as a school district, we're charged with the safety and welfare of young people and their families, and so we understand the governor's orders. We appreciate it. This order in particular, it's 17 pages long, and there are a lot of details in it, and we appreciate that guidance that's coming from the governor and I assume the Michigan Department of Education.
State Representative Ryan Berman, who serves much of our listening area, was also with us yesterday, and it was really interesting to hear his comments on the program. He was talking about the challenges that the school districts have. And I thought had some really interesting comments about some of the strengths of some school districts may be able to be helpful to others. State Representative Ryan Berman yesterday here on the Megacast.
I think West Bloomfield, again, can serve as a model for these others and help. And I think they have been helping other districts around our region implement their own online and distance learning initiatives.
And I think, yes, they can be helpful, but really all of the school districts in our service area, and this is why I'm really looking forward to talking to Dr. Schwartz in a couple of minutes, all of the school districts in our area have been doing an amazing job. I mean, it cannot be easy to have to close the school down, have to restructure everything, have to get the services out to students that don't have them so that all of the students, or at least as many as possible, can continue to stay connected via all of the distance learning opportunities and be able to implement all that. It was absolutely amazing what has happened so far over the past couple of days and weeks. So, Tyler.
Yes, Dave.
Tyler, here we are today. We have the governor's statement. We know that Michigan is right in the epicenter of this. We did hear, I really loved what we heard from Captain Dan Edwards earlier in the show in Bloomfield Township. He said that the police department calls are actually down right now. That was kind of reassuring. That was nice to hear. But we have our hands full. We have we're in a part of the country that has more coronavirus activity than anywhere. The numbers are starting to rise, or maybe it's too bold of a statement than maybe saying that anywhere, but our numbers are rising like crazy. And we have our hands full, and it is, according to everybody, going to get harder over the next several weeks. And now is the time where we really need to be heroic. Now is a really tough time. First week or two, they were tough. But if we're going to be in our homes, many of us, for another 2-3 weeks or maybe a little bit longer, it gets harder every day.
It does, but from what Captain Edwards said about crime rate being down, crime rate's down because people aren't going out, partially. People aren't going out, people aren't engaging in social gatherings, and they're keeping their distance. They're staying indoors, and they're following the directive. And you said we need to be heroic. We do. And the way that we can be heroic, you have the medical officials in the hospitals and the volunteers that are doing their part in being heroic by treating people with COVID-19. We can be heroic by following the governor's directives, by following the directives of the health community, and doing our part to keep our distance, to keep clean, to sanitize, and to make sure that we are doing as much as we can to flatten the curve.
All right, and to do all that, you need help. You need reminders. You need information. One of the places you can go is civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. And if you go there, you'll find links, and I'm on the page right now. You'll find links to all of the different agencies that are helping us. Oakland County. And by the way, we'll hear from Oakland County Executive Dave Coulter later in the show today. The state of Michigan and all the resources that we have there. Center for Disease Control. And then many of our communities that we are working with right now. West Bloomfield, Keego Harbor, Sylvan Lake, Orchard Lake, Birmingham, Bloomfield Hills, Rochester Hills, Troy, Pontiac, Auburn Hills, and more. These are direct links in the top of our website to your local information that will be helpful to you. Other things that are in the top of everyone's mind right now as it relates to the coronavirus, and you can find supporting information for all these items on our website at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. Story here says some may not get stimulus checks until August, but direct deposits are likely to start mid-April. All right? Well, I want to take the positive side of that. Yeah, I think that's probably true. These programs take time to implement. But good news, a lot of folks are going to get $1,200 or more, depending on your income and your family structure, and it's just going to show up in your bank account. So if you had direct deposit and an account tied to your federal income tax return, which most of us do, if you e-file, which almost did you e-file last time, Tyler?
I did.
Okay, good, and so did I. So virtually all of us are e-filing. So the IRS knows what your bank account is. Hopefully you didn't switch financial institutions. A check is going to show up in April for most of us. It's absolutely amazing. I'll look at the positive. If they don't have your information or there's some other anomalies, then it may be later. Here's the thing that we're going to hear about more. It's not making big headlines, but it will with regard to these stimulus checks. be careful. Watch out for fraud. There are so many opportunities, so many people that are going to start to run scams at you. Just don't listen to anything that comes to you in the mail. I don't think the IRS or a lot of these agencies are going to send you an email. And it's so easy for an agency to spoof you. I mean, let me set a scenario that some scammer might do. I could see a scammer sending you an email, taking the IRS's logo, putting it on there, and say, hey, we want to send you this money, but we need your checking account information. That's the kind of thing, Tyler, you just can't respond to.
No, you shouldn't.
No, that
should be a huge
that'll
red
be a
flag.
problem. So keep an eye out for that. Get some help. If you get something that you're not sure if it's legitimate, try to find a way to contact that organization back and see if it's legit.
And continue like you're doing with all other aspects of life right now, and look out for your friends and your family, especially those who are of elder age in your family, because they are the usual big targets for scams. And in this time, it's going to be even easier for them to be scammed because they're going to be the first people being contacted. They're in a lot of danger. So you checking in with them and making sure that you're talking to them about their financial situation and their situation with the stimulus and making sure that they're keeping vigilant is going to be a huge thing for them.
All right, we're going to check with Dr. Schwartz in a minute, but before we do, a couple of other headlines that are on the Civic Center TV pages today. Oakland County Sheriff Bouchard addressed the county via phone call. We're going to talk to David Coulter about that later on in the program. I understand it was Coulter's idea to use that call scenario to try to get information into the hands of people. Great idea in Oakland County. They're doing a lot of really creative things there. If you need a free meal in Oakland County, we have a link on our website. If you're hungry, there are people that are here to help you. You can go to where to find a free meal. And if you have a computer and you're at home listening to the show, maybe you need to hand that information off to somebody else you know. Jot it down so if you run into somebody or you have a friend that you might think is having a hard time, they're unemployed, they got to feed their family, and they can't, where to find a free meal in Oakland County during the coronavirus crisis. It's right there on our website. And finally, a couple of other quick links here. Michigan unemployment site. The site is having a really hard time if you're filing for unemployment. We'll talk about that more later on in the show. And then there's a link from Auburn Hills. Auburn Hills virtual recreation opportunities. There's a link on our website for more of that. So go to civiccentertv.com. You're going to get a different mix of highly local information about the coronavirus, and that's all on our coronavirus page. We're going to take a break. When we return, we'll find out more what's happening in education around our service areas. The superintendent of Avondale Schools, Dr. James Schwartz, joins us in just a couple of minutes. This is the Megacast on Civic Center TV and CivicCenterTV.com and our great radio stations, 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 WBFH, The Biff, and WAHS, 89.5 Avondale Community Radio. We'll be right back.
Have you had to choose between picking up a prescription or buying groceries, paying your utility bill, or insulating your attic? You're not alone. Every day, people across Michigan are faced with choices. Michigan Community Action is a network of agencies helping people achieve greater financial and personal independence through programs such as weatherization, food distribution, utility assistance, and Head Start preschools. The programs supported by Michigan Community Action benefit people all over the state. Maybe you've just lost your job and are having trouble making ends meet. Or maybe you're retired and Social Security isn't enough. Whatever your situation, we may be able to help. Visit MichiganCommunityAction.org or call 855-MI-ACTION to find out more. Helping people, changing lives. Sponsored by Michigan Community Action and Michigan Broadcasters.
There we go. Got to hit that button. Welcome back to the Megacast. Dave Scott here. There are so many buttons we have in our television and radio studio. So thank you for bearing with me. I'm Dave Scott in the Lakes FM studio. We are live on Civic Center TV, Channel 15 and Channel 19 in the West Bloomfield area. CivicCenterTV.com is a place to watch us online. We want to thank the West Bloomfield Fire Department for sharing their Facebook page with us today. We are Facebook Living. There's got to be a better way to say that. especially when I have an esteemed superintendent and educator listening to every word, and I'm saying Facebook living. I'm sure that is not proper
We're
English,
megacasting
Tyler.
on Facebook Live.
Okay, whatever. We are also on the radio on 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 WBFH The Biff, and we really got to thank our next guest for helping make this happen and sharing his radio station with us and the radio station of the Avondale School District, WAHS 89.5 Avondale Community Radio. Dr. James Schwarz, the superintendent of Avondale Schools, joining us on the Megacast. We made it. Thank you for joining us. How you doing today?
Yeah. Good. Very good. Good.
A huge thank you for letting us put your radio station into service with us and helping us get the word around all of our communities. You guys have a huge signal, and we can touch so many more people with it. A lot of people want to get local information during this crisis. That's what we're trying to do. So thank you very much for helping make that happen.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Whatever we can do to continue to get the word out there, the better.
So I know you've been busy. Thank you for taking a couple of minutes with us. If at any point you need to run, please let us know. I assume you listened to what the governor had to say yesterday, and your thoughts after Governor Whitmer said school is unfortunately done for the year. Your thoughts?
Yeah, so the school cancellation to the end of the year it did not come as a surprise. It is something that I think we all, as superintendents, certainly in this county, anticipated that it would happen, that, and certainly the preparations for that announcement, we began a couple of weeks ago with looking at, how do we go about instilling long-range planning to have that academic continuity to the end of the school year. And so we've had staff rolling up their sleeves and looking at how to create a more expansive online presence relative to assignments, homework, instruction, as we move through to the end of the year.
Yeah,
we began in the first 3-week period, that we were off, or that school was off, I should say. We've been working with some online platforms, Google Classroom particularly. Teachers are having classes with Zoom with their students. We've had students that don't have connectivity or computers receiving packets that they complete and return back. As we move forward, now that we have a longer range, we are going to be working to become more consistent with online. We'll be distributing computers to students who need them, families that need them that currently don't have a computer or don't have connectivity. We're going to be assisting in those areas to, again, create more of an opportunity for students to be online to continue their education to the end of the school year.
It really is remarkable what you're doing, and what we're hearing from you today is what we've heard from the other schools and the other superintendents we've talked to over the past couple of days. And, that sounds fine and dandy sitting there in your office. Well, we're just going to make Google classroom work. We're going to get computers to everybody. I mean, that is miraculous and heroic work. It's not easy. How many students do you have approximately in your district that you've got to support with all this?
There's about 3,500.
Yeah, I mean, so if you think, I just think about that in my business. If I had to rework with very little notice an apparatus to support 3,500 people, it's a tall order. So what you're doing and what the other superintendents are doing is amazing. You've had a couple of weeks with us now. What kind of feedback are you getting from the instructors and the students as to how it's going for them?
It's been very positive, actually. We received a lot of positive feedback, just in regards to the level of connections that teachers are having with students. A lot of the work that has been done, schoolwork that is, has been more, supplemental, enrichment based. It hasn't been entirely a whole lot of new content. Now that we know that we're going to be out for the remainder of the year, now our plans are consisting of, how do we go about delivering new content? So it was really, these last couple of weeks were really to get students into the routine of working at home, frankly, that setting aside time at home, setting up a routine where they are getting into learning how to, navigate these tools, the teachers checking in on them at certain parts of the day, just getting into that overall routine of now you're not in a classroom, now you're at home. It's a different level of expectations. It's a different level of connectivity. All of that takes getting used to, and I think it's easy to take that for granted when you're jumping into this, but when you step back and you look at, that's a whole different paradigm shift for kids, particularly if they're not used to being in an online environment. And so, now that we've muddled through that piece of it, we're ready to kick it up a notch and enhance those lessons and move forward. And like I said, expanding the opportunity for folks that currently don't have computers or connectivity to get involved in that framework.
All right. Well, it's a struggle that we got to keep working through, and the job doesn't get easier. It probably gets harder. I need to make a quick announcement for our radio stations. Keep everything legal here with the FCC. We don't want to get in trouble with any federal agencies in this program. You're listening to 89.3 WBLD, Orchard Lake, West Bloomfield, Keego Harbor, Sylvan Lake, 88.1 WBFH, Bloomfield Hills, and 89.5 WAHS, Auburn Hills. Joining us, Dr. Jim Schwartz on the Megacast. So I'm thinking, and I didn't think about asking any of the other superintendents this. What role do the parents play in making all this happen at home?
So that's a great question. So, parents are, what's been thrust on parents has also now been, that they're in the role quasi as a teacher. What we ask of our parents is, frankly, to help their child to develop that work routine, that there is a time of day where we know the teacher is going to be checking in. We know that work is due at certain points in time, that the parent really needs to help us to develop that routine at home, where the child's putting away the Xbox and it's now time to school and tend to their work. So setting up that routine is really critical on the part of the parent. And that's, we ask them, the connectivity, the assistance with assignments and so on, our teachers are checking in with that. And yes, we would ask parents to help us with that if a child is getting, stuck on something, to be able to provide that assistance. But the real basis is just really helping to establish that routine for their child at home.
Yeah, I think they're playing a key role, and it'll be really be counting on them too. They, I know most parents are really involved in the education of the kids, but now it's even more important. The governor said yesterday. Go ahead. I'm sorry, sir. Go ahead.
I was going to say, and it's difficult. It's really, we feel for parents. It's really difficult because most parents now are trying to juggle their own job at home. And now they also have their child at home who is receiving schooling, and the parent has to navigate all that. And, it can be extremely stressful for the parent to navigate their own job at home and their child's schoolwork at home at the same time.
Yeah, and the well-being of the whole family. I mean, I'm a single person. It's easy for me. Yeah. I mean, I have freaked out a couple of times over the last, you get cabin fever, you get a little sniffle, all these things. I'm over 60. You're facing your mortality. Now everything's going to be okay. But these things do pass through your head, and then you've got to communicate that, especially in the case of elementary school kids. These kids are sharp, and they watch the media. They know what's going on right now. And so you got to manage all that in your household, too. I agree. I think it is a very difficult time and tall order for parents right now. They're up to it. Governor yesterday said that we were not going to penalize any students as a result of this decision. Could you talk a little bit about what you think is that means as it relates to graduating seniors and anyone else in your programs?
Sure. With that, we anticipate that any student who is on track to graduate is going to graduate. We're not going to hold back that opportunity, based on these few months. So anybody who was on track, will graduate. And those that weren't on track or need additional credits to get themselves on track because they were behind to begin with, before this episode, they'll be given opportunity for credit recovery or for additional coursework between now and August so that they can graduate and attend post-secondary in the fall.
Well, I appreciate that, and I know that's got to be reassuring to seniors. So before we say so long, thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it. And by the way, this vehicle is wide open to you. If you have anything you need to share with your community, you got any ideas, anything we can do to help the educational process, please let us know. And we're going to get you together probably on some kind of a live radio conference at some time with the other superintendents. Maybe we'll do a roundtable and just discuss some of these matters because I like all you guys. We are so fortunate in our service area to have some great school districts with great leadership, great teachers, great parents. Before we go, any thoughts about any adjustments? Are you looking at adjustments to your schedule that, given the situation, maybe there'd be some additional learning during the summer, maybe school would start a little bit earlier in the fall? Are those things on your radar? And maybe you can share some thoughts with us.
Yeah, so we're looking at opportunities for students to get involved through the summer. We're looking at an expansive summer school program that will service most, if not all, grade levels. It won't be a mandatory summer school. We're not going to make kids come over this summer, but there will be opportunities that will be available for students to be involved with that educational continuity over the summer, should their families choose that for them. As far as the calendar goes, we are starting prior to Labor Day this coming fall. So we are starting earlier than we've started previously to get us caught up on getting into the fall.
All right. Well, thank you for your time. Anything you want to add before we say so long?
No, I appreciate I appreciate the questions. I appreciate being able to get some communication out there in a means that's been a little different than our typical communications go. So I appreciate the radio. So thank you for the opportunity.
No problem. And thank you. And, and Logan, who is the junior, who is the general manager of your radio station at Avondale High School, helps get us on the air every day. He's a rock star. I got to sit down and talk a little broadcasting with him because, I think of him. And I was Logan when I was 17 years old at West Bloomfield High School. And all of this happened for me, whatever all this is, because of our high school radio stations. You guys have a great program. And I'm looking forward to meeting students and the folks in your program and anything we can do to be a part of it and help these kids get on the right track. But they're already doing fantastic, and we could not do this to the extent that we're doing it without the help of you, your community, your radio station, your staff, and Logan, who gets us on the air each and every day. So thank you.
That's great. Well, thank you. I appreciate that feedback. Thank you.
All right, very good. He is Dr. James Schwartz of the Avondale Schools. He is a superintendent, and we will continue to keep in touch with our superintendents across the area. We're going to take a quick break. Water is a key to keeping all of us alive. Dr. Paul Van Oyen joins us in a couple of minutes. He is an obstetrician, gynecologist, and he is an expert when it comes to access to water in the Detroit area and across the state. We'll talk to him about water. We'll also talk to him a little bit about if you are pregnant. What do you need to do to take additional care during the coronavirus crisis? We'll be back in a minute. You are watching and listening to the Megacast. I'm Dave Scott. He is Tyler Keefe over there. And this is on Civic Center TV, Channel 15 and Channel 99 on AT&T. Thanks to the West Bloomfield Township Fire Department for putting us on the Facebook page today. Watch us on CivicCenterTV.com and tune in to these amazing radio stations covering most of Oakland County, 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 WBFH The Biff, and WAHS 89.5 Avondale Community Radio. Back in a moment.
Welcome back to the Cat Show. Up next, we have Nico. Nico is a member of the Shelter Pet Group.
That's right. A group known especially for their sunspot sleeping, ball chasing, leg rubbing, and of course, companionship. Just look how she struts.
It's like she owns the place.
And see how she curls up and cuddles her person.
The pitch on her purring is simply perfect.
Nice one.
Fantastic cat. But really the best way to know an amazing shelter pet like Nico is to meet one.
Visit theshelterpetproject.org today. Adopt.
Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
All right, welcome back to the Megacast. Dave Scott here, Tyler Keefe. A lot going on. We're moving quick. We got to keep it going. We've got Dave Coulter joining us in a couple of minutes. Dave Coulter, of course, is the Oakland County Executive. We'll find out what's going on countywide. County has had their hands full, and they're right in the middle of this whole thing. Also, before the hour is over, we're going to talk to Rabbi Daniel Schwartz, and he is with Temple Shir Shalom. This is really a handful for all of our houses of worship around Metro Detroit. They've got another weekend coming up, and clearly with the governor, right now the governor said, of course, we can't get together. We can't get together at school, we can't get together at work, and we cannot get together in our houses of worship. So we will be checking in with them in a minute. I think he is ready, and joining us on the line now and via Zoom is Dr. Paul Van Oyen. He is a retired obstetrician and a gynecologist. Doctor, can you hear us?
Yes. I'm actually a retired high-risk obstetrician and former medical director of the Family Birth Center at William Beaumont Hospital in Royal Oak.
Excellent. You know, that ran off the bottom of my page. Maybe someday I'll have that many credentials where it just runs right off the bottom of the page. Thank you for joining us. How are you doing today, and how you feeling?
Well, I'm feeling fine, but I'd like to talk about the coronavirus first, because I think that's obviously the most important topic of our times, and I'm afraid we can't really sugarcoat it.
Well,
we're in the midst of,
please don't. We're looking forward to hearing what you have to say. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're in the midst of a world coronavirus pandemic, what we call COVID-19, and the U.S. is increasing cases faster than virtually any other country in the world. And unfortunately, Michigan is rising to one of the fastest increasing states. So I consider this as being at war with a virus, a plague, if you will. Now, in my background, the closest thing I have been through that was at all like this as a practicing physician was during the AIDS HIV epidemic back in the 80s, I mean. And I was on the response team for Beaumont Hospital at that time. And back then, as people may recall, the U.S. was somewhat slow to respond, something very slow to respond, including our president, Reagan, at the time. And I'm sorry to say it's kind of been a similar situation now. The original response from President Trump has been I think, somewhat slow. But like HIV/AIDS, testing was a problem because it was not readily available at first. But one thing that's very different about the coronavirus epidemic and the HIV/AIDS is there was a stigma to the AIDS epidemic. And, you know, frankly, because it was found at the time, at least initially, mostly found in homosexual males. And there were some healthcare providers, I'm sad to say, who were reluctant to take care of these patients. And
Doctor, can I interrupt and ask you a quick question? Do you think that that crisis was underplayed, was not as visible, and is as significant as what we are in now? A, and B, do you think we missed the opportunity to learn things that would have been useful for what we're going through right now?
Yeah. Well, I think it was underplayed because of the stigma. I really do. And I have to admit that the healthcare workers didn't want to see these patients. I think now we've gotten beyond that kind of attitude, and I'm really proud of how the healthcare workers now are really putting their lives at risk to see the COVID-19 patients, especially if they have insufficient personal protection. And this epidemic, the AIDS epidemic, was much less infectious. You had to, it was sexually transmitted, yes, but also the greatest risk to healthcare workers then was from a needle stick. And there still is no absolute treatment for HIV/AIDS, but you could get hyperimmune globulin if you got a needle stick and hope that kept you from becoming positive.
Yeah, I don't think that the healthcare workers are any less than absolute heroes that we should pin medals on, because they are putting themselves at risk. Have you, during your career, you're now retired, doctor, I imagine that you never, and I'm not saying you didn't make a contribution. We appreciate your amazing contribution, but I don't think any medical professionals have had to walk into a situation like our doctors and nurses and others are walking into today.
No, I would say some of the early doctors who treated the AIDS patients when there was no testing and nobody knew how contagious it was, they were very heroic, and others were not. But today, everybody seems to be pitching in, which is wonderful. There have been opportunities to learn from other epidemics, though, the SARS and the MERS and the Ebola epidemics, which we were pretty successful in isolating in close to their origins and not having a worldwide pandemic. However, since those times, for example, in 2015, there was warning that we should be prepared for a worldwide viral epidemic. And in fact, the Obama administration had set up a world pandemic response team during the Obama administration, which unfortunately was disbanded in the Trump administration.
Well, and I know we're going to find out. Today's not the day to do it. And I'm convinced that the national news networks will get to the bottom of, where we could have done better, who to blame, what do we need to do, how are we going to avoid this going forward, but I agree with you. We were not prepared. Dr. Paul Van Ooyen is with us. He is a retired physician, former medical director at the Family Birth Center at Beaumont Royal Oak. Doctor, we only have a couple of minutes because we've got the Oakland County Executive joining us in a minute. What about pregnant moms right now? Do they have to be especially careful with the coronavirus?
No, there's really nothing particularly different about pregnant moms, other than we know that they have an altered immune system. So in theory, they might be a little more susceptible, but there have been no evidence so far of transmission to the fetus. It could be that at birth, body fluids containing the virus could be transmitted at that time. But I'd like to say a few things about our mainstay of prevention, since we have no vaccine and we have no effective drug treatment. And the most important part is distancing, which some have done well, others have not. Covering coughs and sneezes with a handkerchief, not our hands. Mm-hmm. And also having sufficient testing to know where the virus is heading.
Yeah, no, we definitely need to get our testing act together. Final question, and I got to zip along. I appreciate you being with us. Where do you weigh in, now that you're bringing all this up, where do you weigh in on the mask issue? So initially CDC said no because they wanted to save masks, I think, for physicians, and they still do. But what would you be doing, doctor, if you can hear me right now? I know you might have trouble. Where do you weigh in on the mask issue?
Yeah, I would really like to say something about the water issue, because washing is so important, and water has been shut off in Detroit and other areas, going back to the bankruptcy. And washing is so important for any pandemic like this. And if we can't get these people water, I know it took.
I'm not aware. I mean, you can chime in. I personally heard the governor say that they weren't going to cut off anybody's water or anyone's utilities. This is Governor Whitmer. That we were not going to be cutting water off. Are you seeing different reports?
No, but this has happened for years. Detroit's been shut off for years, and this has set us up for the pandemic. Is my point, because if there's a significant part of the population that can't wash and clean, then the virus can come through like a tsunami and right through our wall of public health protection, which is hand washing. And there's gaps in it. It goes through like a sieve.
I hear your point, and I thank you for coming on the show today. And, you know, that may be one of the contributing factors, Tyler, why we are having such a problem in the city of Detroit. The doctor makes a really good point. I mean, for whatever reason, economic, whatever, lack of water, whatever the reason is, Tyler, in Detroit we're having a severe problem right now, and it seems to be much worse there.
Yeah, it's definitely the hotbed in Michigan for the coronavirus outbreak, and they need to have the resources, and everybody needs to have the resources to be able to wash their hands, to be able to keep their environment clean while they're physical distancing. So it is a huge issue.
All right, a great thanks to Dr. Paul Van Ooyen. We will keep in touch with him, and a big thank you to all the physicians that are doing their part, and all the information we can get is very, very valuable, especially from people right here at home. I'm Dave Scott. Tyler Keefe is here. We're going to take a break. We'll be back in just a moment. I believe in a couple of moments we're going to talk to the Oakland County Executive, Dave Coulter, and find out how things are going at the county and any advice that he has and programs that they're working on. We'll find out more in just a moment. You are watching and listening to the Megacast on Civic Center TV, Channel 15, Channel 19, and also Channel 99 on AT&T. At CivicCenterTV.com and on the radio, 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 WBFH, The Biff, and WAHS 89.5 Avondale Community Radio. We'll be right back.
To buy your home, you became a house hunting ace. Learned about loans, scoured neighborhoods, and asked the right questions. Now you're queen of your castle. If you manage that, you can get your retirement plan on track. Visiting aceyourretirement.org can help. With 401k tips and smart saving strategies, you'll feel empowered to own your retirement like you own your home. Go to aceyourretirement.org. Because when it comes to clearing financial hurdles, you're an ace. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
There are many sounds in your daily life. Ones that make you smile. Ones that help you relax. And there are some sounds that can help save lives. Wireless emergency alerts, now on many mobile devices, use a unique sound and vibration to bring you critical information about emergencies in your area. With updates from local sources you know and trust, you can be in the know wherever you are. Learn more at ready.gov/alerts. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
89.3 WBLD, Lakes FM and lakesfm.com. Very good to have you with us today. My name is Dave Scott. We are on Lakes FM. We are on 88.1 WBFH, The Biff. We are on WAHS 89.5 Avondale Community Radio. We're going to be talking to Oakland County Executive Dave Coulter in just a couple of minutes and find out what's going on at the county level. And Tyler, the county has been doing just an absolutely amazing job with us. And we really, the information that they've been putting on has been absolutely amazing on their website. So we're going to find out exactly more what's going on there in a couple of minutes. All right. I got to take one more break. I am so sorry. Just give us 60 seconds. We got a button that we have to hit, and we will be back with more of the Megacast after this.
What are you doing?
Just sending a gift to Dave 2037.
Who?
Me in the future. I save a little money from every paycheck as a gift to Dave 2037, so he can spend it on things like anti-gravity boots or a hologram Doberman, something cool like that. I think Dave 2037 deserves it. He worked hard. What are you getting Steve 2037?
I guess I was thinking Steve 2037 would just fend for himself.
Well, all right, but don't expect to be borrowing my anti-gravity boots.
You want to have money in your future? You got to start saving now. Putting some money from every paycheck into a savings account or contributing to your 401k can make a big difference later. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free ideas and easy ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org.
Hey, let's just hope Steve 2037 doesn't get his hands on a cold time machine, because he is going to come back here and knock some sense into you.
This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
All right, thank you very much for joining us here on the Megacast. Dave Scott on 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 WBFH, The Biff, WAHS 89.5 Avondale Community Radio, CivicCenterTV.com. We're on the West Bloomfield Fire Department. Facebook page. We really appreciate them joining us. And joining us now, I think we got all the buttons pressed, and with an airplane in his office, I love that, is County Executive Dave Coulter. Hello, sir. How are you?
Scott, I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm
sorry, Dave.
No, that's
Dave
fine. That's fine. I'm doing fine. We've only met once. That's okay. We met briefly when you were kind enough to come to the United We Walk celebration at West Bloomfield High School on Martin Luther King weekend, and so it's good to meet you. And I appreciate you taking time for us during this crisis to join us on the Megacast. How are you feeling?
I feel great. My health is really good. I get a temperature check every day, so far so good. But I'm also very determined because we have a lot of folks in our county who are not doing well, and that's our top focus right now. And I know what you want to chat about a little bit too.
Yeah, it is shocking, to be honest with you, County Executive Coulter. It's shocking that somehow Oakland County, southeastern Michigan, ended up right in the epicenter nationally of this crisis. Our numbers are high here. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, and it really, in Michigan, it really kind of started in Oakland County. And like a lot of things, we're asking the question why. We have anecdotal evidence, but we don't really know yet. It could be that folks here travel more. But the other thing is, once it takes hold in a community, it's a very fast spreading and easy to spread virus. And so it doesn't take long before the numbers start jumping. And so in that regard, I don't think there's anything unique about Southeast Michigan. New York obviously is going through it, but there'll be other major metropolitan areas across the country that unfortunately will follow our lead.
Well, and I think just a result of us living in proximity to each other here in southeastern Michigan. It's a highly populated area. And, I just from watching this from day one, I want to applaud you and Governor Whitmer and the president. And, we don't want to get political now. We're all working together. But I want to applaud all of you. It seems like you've all, for the most part, really had all hands on deck. And I love what the county's been doing. And one of the things that I think really helped all of us is that map that you put on of the county where we can go in and type in our zip code. When you know what's going on, at least you know, and you feel a little bit better.
Yeah, information is power, and the map has been very helpful. But the map also has its drawbacks, and that is, like I mentioned earlier, so it tells us the what, but it doesn't necessarily tell us the why. So we see that there are some communities in the south end of the county, including Bloomfield Township area, West Bloomfield area, that have higher numbers. And at this point, we can only guess why that is. So we wanted to be transparent. We want people to know what's going on in their community. We wish we could do more to explain exactly what's going on. But part of the reason about putting those numbers out there for people to see is folks in those communities are on the ground. They know what's going on in their communities, and they may be more aware of congregating people, organizations that are still getting together, or just activity that we shouldn't be doing right now. So hopefully those numbers just make us all more aware that it's really in all parts of the county. And if you're in a particular zip code that's higher, you shouldn't panic. If you're in a zip code that's less, you shouldn't let up. We all have to kind of assume that the virus is everywhere in all of our communities and take all those stringent precautions that we need to do right now.
Well, we take a look at the different areas of government, the federal government, the state government, and the county, and then our local municipalities. When I think about the county's role, I think about health, and I think about emergency response. Am I on target? And could you talk about those two areas and anything else that you are focusing on at the county level?
Yeah, and I've mentioned this before. I was a mayor in Ferndale for 9 years before this. The big difference now is we didn't have a health department. So when I became county executive, I realized very quickly the health department reports to me, and I took that responsibility very seriously right from the beginning. And now we understand just how critical these services are. And I have to applaud our health director and our public health officer and all the folks that are just doing a yeoman's job. And this is what they do. The virus is new, but the work that they do is not. We have 4 epidemiologists on staff. Probably most people didn't realize that. I'll confess I didn't either before this started. But I'm very reassured every day that we have some really good public health folks in Oakland County and throughout the state that are helping us navigate these new times.
David Coulter is the Oakland County Executive joining us today in the Megacast. Executive Coulter, we see what's going on downtown at the TCF Center, and we've heard conversation and some news reports that there may be a need for additional beds in Oakland County. Where are we in Oakland County?
I think we're going to be in need of more beds, and I've had conversations with the state. When you talk about where are we in Oakland County, as of this morning, we've had 135 fatalities already. That's up 30 just from last night. We're over 2,500 positive cases. And unfortunately, we're still in the upward trajectory of that curve. So bending that curve and getting those numbers down continues to be our number one focus, because for a number of reasons, but maybe most critically, we don't want to overwhelm our healthcare systems. And I talked with the COO of Beaumont yesterday. I've been talking to our other hospitals, and they're getting near capacity. And if we don't start to bring these numbers down soon, they will quickly be over capacity. And so I do believe that additional beds are going to be needed in Oakland County. I don't think it's a secret that we've been talking about the Suburban Showplace Collection Convention Center in Novi. That is, we've been working with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers on what it would take to convert that. The conversion isn't the hard part, it's staffing it. Our hospitals and their workers are challenged because they have folks that are in quarantine or positive as well. So getting the medical personnel to operate a field hospital is a huge challenge, and that's kind of what we're working through right now. But we know there'll be a need for it.
Yeah, and we've talked to the first responders on the show because we're mining right down into our local communities. We talk to fire chiefs. We talk to 911 centers here, and they tell us a couple of things interesting. They tell us, maybe it hasn't filtered back to you. They probably has, though. They tell us that they have the capacity to make the calls right now, and they're doing okay, especially the fire departments, but they are a little bit concerned about, as you mentioned, facilities to transport people and to care. One good piece, I always like finding good pieces of news. We talked to the Bloomfield Township Police Department, Captain Dan Edwards, earlier today. Captain Edwards said that the police calls are down. And that makes sense. There are fewer people out there. So at least there's one good thing that's going on.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And this is one of the things I've heard from the hospitals is the silver lining is that other types of patients that they see are down, especially when it comes to trauma. There's less car injuries, there's less, there's less traumatic injuries. And so those areas are down. Folks aren't congregating in bars and things. And so there's a lot less activity, which means a lot less pressure on some of those other areas. And so we have seen a reduction in crime and traumatic injuries and those sort of things. And that is a silver lining to all of this.
Yesterday, Sheriff Bouchard did something very interesting. And, we've all seen robocalls, but he used that technology to call people around the county and then had a conference call afterwards. So it wasn't, from what I understand, it wasn't a recording, but it was a unique way to reach an awful lot of people in the county. Little Bird told me that idea might have come out of your office. Could you talk a little bit about that concept and how did it go yesterday and if we're going to be seeing more of that?
Yeah, as you may know, when I became executive, I started doing town halls all over the county just so I could meet people, get their questions, answer their questions, and that sort of thing. And we had been doing that regularly. Obviously, when this hit, we had to change that up, and the focus became the coronavirus. But a couple of weeks ago, we started doing telephone town halls around the county. We've done 2 aimed specifically at our senior population because they have different needs and different concerns. But we've also done them broadly in the county. We've had thousands of people on those calls. They've been very successful. We have our health officers on those calls as well so that they can give better health expertise than I can. But they've been very well received. And I think, especially in this day and age where there's so much information and you're not sure what is accurate and what's not, people want to hear directly from credible sources, and having our health department, and in this case last night, the sheriff's department, talking about what they're doing in a very credible way is, I hope it gives some reassurance to the residents that we're thinking through these same issues as they are, and that we hear them and we understand their concerns.
Well, no, I think it's absolutely vital, and it's great, and I applaud you for doing that. And I just want to let you know that we appreciate everything you're doing, and we're doing the same thing here. I was so thrilled that we were able to get WAHS in Auburn Hills WBFH in Bloomfield Hills, and our own FM radio station in West Bloomfield, all to combine forces for 2 hours a day to put these broadcasts on. So we're covering not all the county, we're covering a big chunk of the county every day with this broadcast, talking to the local fire, the local police, the local hospitals, everybody. So I just want to let you know we're out here, we're doing this. You're invited to come on anytime you want. If there are any other county resources, as we expand our reach, feel free to let your administration and the folks in the county know that we're here. If you want to put some of these phone calls on the radio and on community television, we got a great network of outlets here that especially the radio stations are too busy because school's closed right now. So we're putting all this apparatus to work, and I agree with you that getting this information out to people, the honest facts is really helpful, and it's very comforting. So thank you for your effort, and I just wanted you to know what we're up to.
Well, I appreciate that. You know, what you're doing is critically important. Keeping people informed, being transparent, I think helps reassure people, helps keep people from panicking. If I could put in a couple of plugs,
please,
for your listeners. If you own a small business, we now have a new fund, $3 million that we're going to get out the door as quickly as possible. In fact, the application deadline is due Monday, April the 6th at noon. But if you're a small business owner in your listening area, they should go to our website at oakgov.com and fill out. It's a pretty quick application, and we're going to start to review those next week so that we can get that emergency help out to our local businesses. And then the other thing, if you don't mind me saying, is we have also established a hotline for any COVID-related question. So it could be health-related, but it could be access to food, or it should be what should I be doing about this? And so our Oakland County hotline is 1-248-858-1000. And your listeners can call that anytime, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., I believe. And we will get you answers to your questions. So we're here to help.
I know you are. I know you are, Executive Coulter. I really appreciate that. We'll put that number on our website. We have also linked to your resources. The county online resources are fantastic, and we've been linking to them and looking at them every day. I think you're doing a really good job getting this information out, and any way that we can be a part of it, I will. And I want to tell you, I am a business owner. I operate, in addition to doing the show, I operate a business with about 20 employees here in Oakland County, and I want you to know, and I'm delighted to say it here on the broadcast, that the Oakland County Business Development Unit, even before this, has been unbelievably heroic in helping our company, and they called us. They called me. I didn't even need to call them. They called me as all this stuff started developing, and I know that, and that's just not my business. I'm not special. They are doing a fantastic job. We're going to get online and apply for that stuff, and I applied yesterday, put all the paperwork together for the Paycheck Protection Program, and we're going to be working with local banks. Our local bank here in Oakland County, who, by the way, to give you just a nice little plug, I met through the county. You guys helped get business and businesses together. It's beautiful, very helpful. But people are going to go online and apply, and I just want you to know, from a business person standpoint, it wasn't that hard. I went through the form. It was like 2 pages, pretty darn simple. The requests were simple, and we're just crossing our fingers in the business community to make sure that the banks can respond over the next couple of days, and we can get that program and the other programs out. But this unique program you mentioned today in Oakland County is much appreciated.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. You know, Oakland County really is the economic engine of Michigan. And it is really vital for us, as we also worry about people's public health, that we worry about the economic health of our county. And so we're going to try to do everything we can to stabilize our small businesses and make sure you guys get through this. So I'm glad to hear it was simple. That was my instruction to them. Don't make this too complicated. Make it a quick and easy thing that they can get in, and we can make these decisions quickly, because we know small businesses need the money now. So that was the goal.
Oakland County Executive Dave Coulter, thank you so much for joining us. Tell Bill Mullen thank you for making all this happen, and we will, anytime you need to jump on, just have Bill give us a call, and we'll be glad to communicate with you, and I'm sure we'll be reaching back out to you. Anything else you want to add?
No, just keep up the good work, Dave. Thanks for having me on, and stay safe.
Thank you. You too. Now, there he is, our Oakland County Executive, Dave Coulter, joining us right here, Tyler Keefe, and he's hard at work, and so is everyone in the county to get us through these tough times.
They're doing amazing work. They're working around the clock to help people of all kinds, the civilians like me and workers like me, small business owners like you, and of course the health community too, and the state. So Oakland County's been a huge advocate for the public during this crisis.
All right, we are going to take a break. We'll be back in just a moment with all of our radio stations and our video outlets, and we'll have an update for you before we wrap it all up today. You're watching the Megacast on Civic Center TV, channel 15 on Comcast, channel 19 on Comcast, and channel 99 on AT&T. We're on the West Bloomfield Fire Department Facebook page. We're on CivicCenterTV.com, and 3 amazing radio stations. We appreciate each and every one of them. 89.3 FM, 89.3 Lakes FM in the West Bloomfield and Lakes area off to the west towards Pontiac and Commerce. 88.1 WBFH, the BIP, the transmitter, is right in the middle of Bloomfield Township, covering Bloomfield Township and beyond, all the way up and down the Telegraph Corridor and off to the east and off to the north. And a big thank you to our friends in Avondale and Auburn Hills at WAHS 89.5. Avondale Community Radio, covering another big chunk of Oakland County and beyond. I'm Dave Scott. He's Tyler Keefe. We'll be back in just a moment.
We're here early before they wake up. We stay late. We stay informed. We invest in the latest technology.
We take the time to train the next generation of doctors and nurses. We work together to make sure we heal their bodies and their minds.
We do this not because it's our job, but because this is about our veterans' lives. This is our mission. More than 300,000 of us working as one, together with families and loved ones. No matter where they live in this country, we'll be there.
We all come together and stand together to serve our veterans. We stand strong, united. Stand with us in caring for our veterans.
And welcome back to the Megacast, 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 WBFH The Biff, WAHS, 89.5 Avondale, Civic Center TV, and all of the rest. I'm Dave Scott. He is Tyler Keefe, and this is the Megacast. If you've not tuned in before, we are here each and every day taking a look at the coronavirus issues right here in our own backyard. I just want to thank again David Coulter, the county executive, for joining us and the fine work they're doing, and it looks clear that we're going to need more beds here in Oakland County. At least they're making the preparations for that. It looks very much like that might be suburban showplace. So we'll keep an eye on that. And he said same thing the governor said on TV and all of our TV stations last night. The biggest problem we got is getting the nurses and the docs and the people there to help out. Well, the weekend, thank goodness the weekend is here. It's kind of crazy, Tyler, as we get into the weekend. It's like, in our normal lives up to now, on Friday, we're kind of looking forward to the weekend. It's something different. We get out of our routine. For many of us, it's a chance to focus more on the religious aspects of our life and recreational aspects of our life, and just take a break and do something different. And I think one of the real challenges people have had is that it's Saturday and Sunday are a lot like Monday through Friday right now in a lot of homes in our area.
And I think that the thing that we can do to kind of bridge that gap between the normal and the new normal as we have it is to communicate with other people in our community, in our personal communities on the weekends when we are away from work and away from chasing the daily grind during the week. And we have community organizations that are very hard at work and religious organizations that are very hard at work to keep those lines of communication active.
Well, we want to thank Rabbi Daniel Schwartz for joining us now. He is with Temple Shir Shalom in West Bloomfield, and he joins us via Zoom. Rabbi Schwartz, can you hear me? And how you doing today?
I can hear you. Thanks for having us on.
Well, yeah, I got to congratulate you. That's the best Zoom signal we have had from anybody. What's your secret? That looks good. Is that a backdrop that you have, or are you really sitting in your temple right there?
It is a backdrop. It's a photo of our sanctuary at Temple Shir Shalom that I put on so that you don't get to see my bedroom behind me.
No, it's nice. We do that on our Zoom conferences. My technologically skilled engineers here have all been doing the same thing. That looks really good. Thank you for joining us here. People are going to now see you. There we go, on Civic Center TV. So you heard our setup here a minute ago. The weekends, they're special time for people religiously and recreationally, and it's a tough time. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I think sometimes it has been in the past, but I believe it also is currently and going into the future too. As we look tonight for us, as we begin our Shabbat, for many on whether it's Saturday evening or Sunday or even yesterday, that for many religious communities, here's the opportunity to get away from the challenges that we're facing, to not focus on the challenges, but to really see the blessings that are a part of our lives, and to give us a little bit of hope as well. In a world that is facing a lot of challenges at the moment, and that by joining together in services with community, virtually online, it gives us the opportunity to engage with others and get us out of our homes and the solitary feelings that we might have.
Rabbi Schwartz, how are you doing it at Temple Shir Shalom? I assume you've got some way to continue to connect with people over the weekend.
We do. So this is actually going to be our fourth Shabbat, our fourth weekend of leading services virtually with nobody in the sanctuary, except for the rabbis in our cantor, and we place ourselves in different areas so that we are making sure that we're practicing social distancing and putting ourselves in a safe way as best we can. But we offer a number of different ways for people to be able to view us. So we have a YouTube channel, Temple Shir Shalom, and we have all of our services that are broadcast there. We have services that are on our Facebook Live. So simultaneously with YouTube, Rabbi Moskowitz and myself will put up our Facebook accounts, and people can join us that way. And then some of our services we actually do through Zoom as well. And for those, we require somebody to reach out to us so that we can send them the link, just to make sure that it's members of our community and people who are supposed to be on the Zoom service with us.
That's great thing you're doing. All kinds of houses of worship are doing the very same thing and trying to connect in a wide variety of ways. It is a little unusual, I know from personal experience, because we do this program called State of the Communities, where we bring together a number of our community leaders for a program, usually in front of an audience of a couple of hundred people. We did it just a couple of weeks ago, and we did it with nobody in the house, and it's probably a little bit different for you as well when no one's in front of you in person.
It's definitely a strange feeling, being in the congregation, looking out and having empty seats, and only looking at computer screens. And so it's a different feeling, and it's almost like we're practicing or in a dress rehearsal as we're going through.
Thank goodness through all of this trouble and hard times. Thank goodness we have this technology, and the technology that many of our houses of worship had and already had and are putting in place. We couldn't have done this 3, 4, 5 years ago. We would have all been on a conference call.
Yeah. It's amazing, and the technology that we have today to be able to solve some of the challenges that we have, even as a community, the clergy in our community, Jewish clergy, on Wednesday night, as we begin the Passover Seders and Passover celebration for the Jewish community, we've done some recordings so that Jews all over who are at home by themselves that want to participate in a Seder and the service that we do around our dinner tables can be with others and have one led for them. And so there's a great partnership, and whether it's from clergy of other faiths, Jewish clergy that we've learned from. There's Facebook groups for us as clergy to be able to link with others and connect with them and learn from each other as well, to be able to connect with our congregants and with our community at large.
Well, no, it's great. With Easter coming up, with Passover coming up, it's time when families get together, and we can get a couple of people together, but I guess I shouldn't be going to somebody else's home for Easter or Passover. We should keep ourselves at our home and figure out a way to do that virtually. I don't think the governor really wants us going over to somebody's home for Passover. Is that what you're recommending?
That's our strong recommendation. We don't think you should be going to somebody else's house either. And part of it is we have the platforms to be able to do it virtually and in a safe way. Unfortunately, there are a lot of tragedies that we hear about and have affected our community as well, by people who have been in contact with others with coronavirus and have contracted it as well. And we want to make sure that everybody stays safe. And the best way to do that is by remaining at home staying safe and avoiding contact with other people. And so even on the holidays when we're used to coming together, we sent out a message to our congregation that as a Jewish community, it's not the first time that we haven't been able to celebrate together, and that for thousands of years, we've been figuring out ways that we can still celebrate this holiday by telling the story, by eating matzah, and fulfilling the commandments that we have, even by ourselves at home. And we can still do that at home by ourselves. It's nice to be with other people, and so sometimes you can, if you don't have the ability to use a computer for that, calling them on the phone and having your phone on speaker to be able to be with others. Well,
we have a list of terms here that have come up during the coronavirus. One of them on that list is social distancing, and a lot of people are changing that, and we're calling it physical distancing, because there's no reason why we cannot stay socially connected if we can't even be right in the same room with each other. And that's what we're trying to stress, and hopefully that's what's going on in houses of worship across Metro Detroit.
Absolutely, and I think that's the blessing of being able to still join together virtually as a community, is to have others you can reach out to and be a part of it.
Rabbi, anything you want to add before we say so long?
I want to say thank you for having me on, and I just wish all the listeners and the viewers out there that you health and safety and peace.
Same to you. Thank you very much for joining us, and we appreciate it. We will clearly stay in touch.
Great. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you very much. Well, that was a great Zoom setup he had there, Tyler. That was amazing.
It's beautiful. It's right. It's got his entire.
Beautiful.
He's got his area in the background there. It's exactly where he would be leading the congregation from.
Rabbi, I still got you up on screen. You look better than we do in our television and radio studio here, so you did a really good job. Congratulations. He's a good guy. Thank you very much for being with us on the broadcast. Tyler, let's take a really quick break, and we'll come back and put a bow on this one. Dave Scott, Tyler Keefe. This is the Megacast, and we'll be right back.
Have you had to choose between picking up a prescription or buying groceries, paying your utility bill, or insulating your attic? You're not alone. Every day, people across Michigan are faced with choices. Michigan Community Action is a network of agencies helping people achieve greater financial and personal independence through programs such as weatherization, food distribution, utility assistance, and Head Start preschools. The programs supported by Michigan Community Action benefit people all over the state. Maybe you've just lost your job and are having trouble making ends meet. Or maybe you're retired and Social Security isn't enough. Whatever your situation, we may be able to help. Visit MichiganCommunityAction.org or call 855-MI-ACTION to find out more. Helping people, changing lives. Sponsored by Michigan Community Action and Michigan Broadcasters.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. The Megacast here on 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 WBFH, The Biff, WAHS, 89.5 Avondale Community Radio, Civic Center TV, and all of our other outlets. Online at civiccentertv.com, good place to go to find all the information that we have supporting the broadcast. We talked to David Coulter earlier, the Oakland County Executive. I'm taking you to his website right now. We didn't talk to the county executive about this, but if you don't have a physician and you are beginning to see some of the symptoms of the coronavirus and you don't know who to call, here's one place you can go, and it is the county number that's a toll-free number right here on the Oakland County site, and that is linked from the coronavirus site on Civic Center TV. And they have a number, 800-848-5533, a link to the COVID-19 website. And then Executive Coulter gave us this number, too, 248-885-1000, another number that you can call. And if you go to the Civic Center TV website in the coronavirus page, there's just a tremendous amount of information. A bunch has been added today, but information from the CBC, State of Michigan, Oakland County, and then all of our communities. I'm just going to click on the Rochester link here, and there you go. You go to Rochester's page with all of their coronavirus information. I'm putting that on TV so you can see it. So no matter where you live in our listening area, there's likely a link to a community near you, and if there isn't one in there now, there'll be one in there soon. So, Tyler, I think we had a good day today. A lot of really helpful information from police departments, from our county executive, from religious leaders, from business leaders, from physicians, and all of it very local. I learned a lot today. We got a lot going on, but I learned a lot today.
And I think the most important thing that we accomplished today was kind of getting a full scope of the situation as it stands at this moment in our community. We talked to people that are experts in enforcement. We talked to people who are experts on the medical angle of this, and we also got some guidance into what we can do in the future from a community perspective, from someone like Deb Macon, from a spiritual perspective, like when we talked to Rabbi Schwartz, and from an educational perspective when we talked to Dr. Schwarz from Avondale Schools.
I have no question about it. And I forgot, I left him off of my list, so thank you for mentioning him and his great contribution to the broadcast today. So a couple of things to leave you with. We're still absorbing all the comments from the governor from yesterday. School is closed for the rest of the year. We're expanding the state of emergency here in the state. We, of course, heard from David Coulter. He confirmed, county executive, that they are looking at adding, maybe with the Army Corps of Engineers, adding beds in Oakland County to the suburban Showplace connection. So we'll keep an eye on that. It was really great at the opening of the show to hear from Captain Dan Edwards in the Bloomfield Township Police Department that calls her down. That is really helpful. And just one final thing to you from one business owner to all of you. If you are operating a business and you want to keep your employees in place, get online today. Get all the information about the programs available, the Paycheck Protection Program, and I would advise you, there's a lot of money there nationally, but there's only so much. Apply for that loan. It's going to be forgiven if you follow all the rules and keep your employees, and I expect that the banks that aren't completely up to speed in our immediate area, but your neighborhood bank, the bank you work with right here in West Bloomfield and Birmingham and Troy and in Auburn Hills, the banks that you work with in our communities, the people that you know are the ones that are going to be implementing this. So of all the programs, it's a really important program that you're going to be able to work with somebody, and I can tell you firsthand the paperwork is really very, very, very manageable. So good luck with all of that. And then also, as David Coulter told us, there's additional programs all over the place in the state, from the county. Go get the help before it's gone. It won't be there forever. Buckle down, get the work done, and you'll be in better shape. And I just want to extend a quick comment, and I know we have to go, to those of you who are unemployed and are fighting through the state's unemployment website. Tyler, it's really difficult. You just got to keep trying and trying. It's totally overwhelmed. Unemployment numbers are just through the roof. So keep at it. You will get to that information.
Yeah, I've had friends who have been trying to get unemployment checks in the state and all throughout. There's a lot of people. There's 6 million people plus in the country who are filing for unemployment. So, as you said, keep at it.
All right, can you hit the buttons here, or do I need to hit the button?
I need to go hit other buttons.
Okay, all I got to do is hit that button. Can you get that set up so I can just hit that button? I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you very much for tuning into the Megacast. There's only 2 of us here, so thank you for being understanding. We got most of the people at home, and there are a lot of buttons to hit in here, so thank you. Huge thanks to all the folks at Civic Center TV, our cable commission, Dave Alberry, and everybody for allowing this to happen, and our townships and communities that support this direct operation, West Bloomfield, Keiko Harbor, Sylvan Lake, and Orchard Lake. And then thanks to all the rest of you that have joined in. I really appreciate the radio stations coming on board to expand our impact. 88.1 WBFH, the Biff, WAHS 89.5 Avondale Community Radio, our own home radio station here, 89.3 Lakes FM, and of course everyone watching in Civic Center TV. Thank you very much for being a part of the broadcast. I'm Dave Scott. Have a great weekend. Be well, be healthy, be safe, stay home, and we will see you on Monday.